We're here.
And welcome back to Positive Partners.
Hi,
Here with Tom High School,
Mike Thompson.
and we're going to talk about some dogs. And dogs and more dogs.
Right.
And how they meet and how they get along, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, when you're walking your dog, what to do when you come across other dogs or when you want to talk to somebody else who has a dog. And, how do you get through that? And if you want to have your dog meet another dog for some reason.
And like I've told a lot of people that have new puppies, one of the most important things, even before training, is socialization.
No, I agree completely.
Socialize them with hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Socialize them with as many other dogs and other animals, cats or whatever that you can.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah, and as long as those other dogs are friendly and are considerate of your puppy, and at some point, you want your puppy to be around a dog that has good social skills, because that puppy will learn how to. With other puppies, it'll learn bite inhibition. It will learn how to interpret other dogs' behavioral signals, when they want to play, when they want to be left alone. All those signals happen in the blink of an eye. If you want to see them, you have to do a video and set it to about, 1/4 speed or 1/8 speed. Otherwise, so much stuff goes by really quickly. And that kind of stuff happens with people, too. We're just more used to reading other people than we are dogs. Dogs' canine body language is their own language, and it's not one that we speak.
Now, I had
so
some
we
problem
have
with
to
that
study it.
in my house where we introduced the puppy, and at the time we had 2 Bernese Mountain Dogs, and the puppy came along, and then and those guys were like 5, 6 years old, and then I had an older little brown dog, and he's like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And the 10 or 11-year-old
Kind of past
was
wanting to be bothered much.
right. He's like, just leave me alone.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he just kind of went off into the corner. It's like, I don't want to deal with puppies. I'm tired of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Berners,
I'm too old for this.
right?
Yeah.
So the Berners, when she would be a pain to them,
Yeah.
they would get on top of her and lay on her
Yeah.
and kind of play bite. They
Right.
weren't mean, but
Right.
they showed.
Yeah.
They showed her who the boss was.
When enough is enough, and there will be some point, and that's why you want your puppies to be around dogs that have good social skills, because at some point an older dog will revoke the puppy's puppy license. You no longer get to chew and climb over and all that sort of stuff and do whatever you want. They will get the message, give that puppy the message like, okay, you're past that now. You have to learn to behave in a more respectful manner.
Well,
with
what
other
happened
dogs.
with ours is that puppy grew up to be larger than Mr. Old Dog.
Yeah.
And when Old Dog barks or growls, then she's on him.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
She didn't respect him because he never made her respect him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They have complicated social lives.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
They're all different too.
They're all
different
different.
dispositions.
Yeah.
You can't make the dog. You could train them, but they still have a personality.
Yeah, they have a personality. Yeah, they sure do. So when we're out, there are ways to help a dog be comfortable around other dogs you encounter. And that's assuming the other dog is leashed or under the control of a responsible owner. If the dog is off leash and not under the control, or leashed and still yet not under the control of responsible owner, then you really have to manage that owner. There are polite ways to do it. There are less polite ways to do it. The important thing is that you do it instead of putting your dog in the spot of good luck to you, you're on your own. So
Yeah.
they
I had that at
need
a
to be able
park.
to trust us that we are going to keep them out of jams. If they can't trust us that we're going to keep them out of jams when we're walking, then they're going to have. By default, they've got to look after themselves, and they're going to make the best decisions they can, but not the ones that we want them to make.
Right.
And so they need our guidance. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were out on a walk.
At a park, we were walking the perimeter of the park, and somebody let their 2 large dogs, as big as my dogs,
Yeah.
they were just out and about, and so they wanted to come over and investigate who we were, and just followed us around. And
Yeah.
my guys were getting a little nervous, so I picked
Right.
up a big stick, and
Right.
once in a while, just make a U-turn
Yeah.
and come towards them.
Right.
And I'm like, you're not chasing us.
Right.
We will come at you if
Yeah.
you want. And so they would run back a little bit, and then we would continue on.
Yeah. Yeah. So some things you can do to, let's say you've got an off-leash dog situation, or you've got a dog coming up to you. If you know that's going to happen, some things you can carry with you, or an umbrella. It's non-threatening looking, but if you push it and it's a kind that pops out on its own, it provides a barrier there, and it'll startle the other dog, and that's really all you need to do. You can carry a walking stick, you know, and as we get older, sometimes it's good to have that extra source of support and so forth, and it's also a source of protection, a way to get a message across. You can carry a little, they're little electronic zappers, they're handheld, they just have a little arc between 2 points. You can get them on Amazon, stun guns or whatever you call them, at 10, 15 bucks, something like that. And they make a zappy sound, and they have
the
a
dog
bright light.
reacts to the clicking zapping
the zap
sound.
and the little bright light, and they they don't want any part of that, and that's effective, you know. So that's worthwhile having, and some of them have built-in LED lights, so it's nice to have with you if it's getting a little darker and so forth. So, like you're talking about puppies, they're open to the world. They're finding out what's, you know, hey, what's life about? And the more dogs you introduce them to, the better their dog social skills are going to be, as long as those are friendly, tolerant dogs and so forth.
And you kind of got to know the dogs in your neighborhood.
You got to know the dogs in your neighborhood. Yeah, yeah. So as dogs get older, they're kind of like people. They get more selective, and they're not necessarily wanting to be around everybody and so forth. So when you're out with your dog, you want them to be aware of other dogs. You want them to have had enough socialization experiences that they're not afraid of other dogs. They're able to go about their business without having to push a greeting or without reacting to the dog. So like I said, that starts with puppies. If you want them to let down their guard, they need to have confidence in you. If you put them repeatedly in situations where they were afraid and you left them in that spot, then
they feel like they have to protect you then, because you're not protecting them. You're not being the pack leader.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that it's just the relationship of dogs to us is more like child to parent, and if we provide protection, guidance, and education, leadership, it's kind of that, and so forth. Now, icing on the cake, if you want your dog to greet other friendly dogs and avoid dogs that are unfriendly, and read that language, that requires a dog with a lot of social skills. And also, if you want to do that, you need to have a lot of skills with recognizing what dog behavior is, because there's a lot of things. There are a lot of things that happen very, very quickly. There are lip licks. There are looks of the eye. There's how dog carries its body. It's how it, where it positions its
tails up or
paw,
down,
and how it wags its tail. Wagging tail doesn't necessarily mean friendly. This kind of stuff means an agitated dog. A stiff tail that's up, this kind of tail wagging like that, very languorously, relaxed body, soft eyes, curving body, that sort of stuff. Relaxed body is a friendly dog. And so if you want your dog to greet another dog and you're not quite sure how to go about that, you ask the other owner, is your dog friendly? And the only acceptable answer is 100% dog friendly all the time. If the other owner says, I think so, usually, pass unless you're really fond of rolling the dice with your, with your dog's welfare at stake.
And one of the things that has preceded a lot of the fights that we've had, between different dogs, is that moment of just stillness.
Yeah.
It may only take a second or two.
Yeah.
But just like,
That's still,
and then bam,
right,
they
right.
got it.
Yeah, yeah. That stillness is really, there are a whole lot of, there are 3 or 4 or 5 behaviors that have preceded that stillness, most of which we're oblivious to. The stillness, like you say, lasts a second, sometimes hardly more than that,
Right.
and then bam, that dog is turning around. Unless you're looking for that stillness, and that's the end of the line. That's
the last
that's
minute.
that's the last split second you've got. Unless you're looking for that, you're going to miss it. And the person version of when things what went wrong between dogs that have greeted each other was they looked like they were fine, and then all of a sudden, well, if you slow it down, there was no all of a sudden. Those dogs interchanged a whole lot of signals, and you know.
And like on my big dogs, they have long hair. Their
Yeah.
hair doesn't stand up.
Right.
But
right.
the other little dog that's got short hair, her hair stands up
Yeah.
even when she's just excited to see you.
Yeah, yeah, right. The dog's hair standing up doesn't mean they're aggressive. It means they're activated. It means they're excited.
Right.
You know. So, and a wagging tail doesn't necessarily mean friendly. You know. So you got to know your dog language. There's a good thing about dog play and dog language. It's called Zoom Room. It's on YouTube. Dog play. Anyway, so now some dogs, like you're saying, you know, with their hair and so forth, some dogs, their ears flop, they don't respond, they have docked tails, they might have been bred not to give a lot of signals like Akitas and so forth. Anyway, they may have, you know, really just the nature of their bodies means it's hard to read their signals. And then some dogs are really bad about reading other dogs' signals. So your dog might be giving all kinds of signals that it's friendly and it just wants to play, and it's you know, and the other dog just may not read it at all. Or your dog may give, you know, hey, look, I don't mean, you know, no problem from me, and the other dog, instead of backing off, may you know, persist with being pushy and aggressive. So
Yeah, like my one older brown dog, he just growls.
yeah,
He doesn't bark necessarily.
Yeah.
He growls about everything. If you get next to him or he doesn't want you near him, it's just brrr, you know,
Yeah.
he's the big old grump.
yeah,
And the young puppy, growl?
uh-huh,
Oh yeah, I'll bring it. You know,
right,
so
yeah.
she's on him.
yeah,
And she doesn't understand that growl to him isn't aggression.
uh-huh,
It's just back off. It's a little bit of a warning. I'm not
Yeah.
being mean. It's just leave me alone.
uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
So his growl is different than other people's
More
growl.
grumpy growl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grrr.
yeah, yeah. And growls, you think dogs are nonverbal animals, and so you want to think before you ever punish growling, because that's a signal that they have that they're communicating something, and if you want to eliminate that from their vocabulary, well, chances are you've missed what they were trying to communicate up to that point. You eliminate the growl, so then you jump from whatever state they were at that prior to that growl. You eliminate the growl, and then next comes a problem with even less warning. So, okay, so when you're out with your other dogs, when you're out with your dog and you're walking him, teach the dog to stay with you when they see other dogs. Redirect them until they're at a distance where they can respond to a request they normally can respond to. Sit, you know, stay, whatever it may be. If they can't respond to you, or if they can't take a treat, move back. You're too close for them to handle that situation. Work at a distance. Distance is your friend. Keep your dog moving. If they stare at a dog for even for a couple of seconds, and they lock their focus onto that dog, then you're crossing over a hill, you know, and that other dog knows they're being stared at. You know, it's like, you looking at me?
Right.
You looking at me? You got a problem? You want to come here? You know.
Like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You know, that sort of stuff. So keep them moving. If the other dog starts giving your dog stink eye, you know, hard stare, you know, it looks just like people look. Like,
Or, at different times on the walk, I'll just have them randomly sit. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're sitting.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, that's
everybody
good.
sits,
Yeah.
and we'll get moving again, then I'll randomly just stop them and sit.
Yeah, that's a good
So
idea
they
to
can-
practice sitting when there's no other dog around. So when you ask them to sit when there's a dog around, they're used to sitting already.
Right.
If you
And
only
if we're
ask
s-
it in the most
if I see
difficult
one
time of the week.
coming and we're beside the trail, sitting, and the ears perk up, I'll give a little tug on the leash, like, hey, look at me, buddy.
Yeah.
Up here.
Hey, come-
I want your attention.
Yeah, yeah. And if your dog's not able to give it attention, move back at a greater distance. If you stop and talk with another owner, and you want your dog to be able to respond to you, if not, get at a distance, talk louder, so your dog is able to manage it. When you want your dog to stay with you, if they're not real great at that, they're not freaked out, but they're not, they don't have the idea or they don't have the habit of staying with you. Let's say this is attached to the dog. There we go. and this is attached to you. Just droop the leash down and then stand on the leash. You don't have to stomp on the leash, but just simply stand on the leash. And that way, when your dog wants to go someplace, it simply can't. And you're managing the situation. You're saying, hey Bob, we're staying here. And then at some point, as long as you're back far enough, Bob's going to get the idea that the only thing there is to do is just sit down and chill out because nothing else is happening. And when Bob sits and chills, then, when you're here and you have your foot standing on the leash, you're not pinning them down or anything like that. You can move
just
around.
not pulling them like
Not
this.
pulling them like that, yeah. Because leash pressure around the neck is going to agitate a dog, just like most pressure around around necks would agitate people. But anyway, when Bob settles down, then let's say you've got a treat or something like that, and you don't look at Bob, you go, hey, good job, and you just toss it down in front of him without making any big deal, because what you're telling them is you're paying attention to the other human being over there, and their job's to just chill out, and occasionally a goodie's going to come their way, and just keep it cool, and we're good.
That's another thing I do with, if I adopt a dog or something, I'll let them drag a leash around the house or wherever. So that I don't have to grab for the collar. If they're running towards something, I can step on
That's
it.
a really great idea. Drag lines, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you want your drag line to not have, if possible, to have no loop on the end of it, because if they're dragging a leash, usually you get by with it, but if it has a loop on it there, it can get caught over something,
It'll get snagged.
It'll get snagged. And so you want the line to be thin enough that it's not going to get caught in crevices, it's not going to get snagged, because if it gets snagged and the dog's moving very fast, its neck takes the blow. So.
Right.
Okay, so if you want to walk with another responsible owner and a reasonably managed dog, walk parallel with them. Walk at a distance where your dog's comfortable and walk parallel, because that sort of that pack walk thing is how dogs do kind of bond with one another. Okay, we're in this together. We're sort of moving along, and then they also are learning. Hey, look, you're safe. I'm safe. The humans have this managed, and they can focus on what they're sniffing and get used to each other and all that sort of stuff.
Now, that's something I've used with other people and other, like new dogs. If the dogs don't necessarily get along in my house, then me and the other person will take the dogs on a walk, like you said, on the same
Parallel.
direction. And maybe I'll take that leash
Yeah.
and I'll lead all of them, or I'll switch up and have the other person take my dogs if mine are a little bit unsure of that person.
Right.
Let them have
Yeah.
the lead, and they gain trust with the person. They gain trust with the other dog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
as long
walking
as you're
with the
walking,
dog,
it's
yeah.
fine
Yeah.
until you don't want to throw a treat in the middle of the floor,
Yeah.
and then everybody's like, "No, it's mine."
Pile on, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like if you and I are here and someone puts $10 down there, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Someone puts $10 million down there, are we friends?
I'll split it.
Yeah, right. Will you really? You promise?
Sure.
Yeah, right. Oh, you first
And
then.
Pat, you got the 10 million?
Yeah, Pat's always got $10 million to spare. At least he says. Anyway, so if you have to have one dog ahead or not, have the dog that is more comfortable out ahead. Have your dog far enough behind that it's letting the other dog stay comfortable, and your dog, when you're behind on the trail, is able to walk with you. If they're pulling, then drop back a greater distance. Basically, the idea is like if you're not getting the result you want, get more distance until that other dog is like there, but they're 50 feet, 50 yards, whatever it takes ahead of you.
That's how we've been training the newer puppy to walk beside someone. Is, I'll take the older dogs with me, and the wife will take her dog.
Right.
And we'll start out all together, and then if she starts like pulling and lunging, then she goes the other direction.
Yeah. Right.
And then starts again in our direction,
right.
but she's another 20 yards back, and then starts pulling again. Well, we're going to stand
really useful,
here.
Right? Yeah, stop, start, change direction,
right?
And then you want to move
like,
forward.
No, you're
this
walking
is how
with me.
That's right. Yeah, there's. Hey, I'm walking here too. I'm on the other end of the leash. We're doing this together.
Right.
Here's a little reminder.
It's you and me.
It's
not
weird.
you and them.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. That matters. And dogs actually bond more so with the people that walk them than with the people that feed them. You don't necessarily bond with the waiter.
Right. Yeah, that's what's got my wife upset sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I give them half their meals. Like, yeah, but I go on and do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, right. So just walking with them, it's kind of part of the natural thing of what they would do. Okay, so when you've got a distance that works, keep it, enjoy it, take the win. And we'll all do it. We'll say, okay, this worked. Let's go for some more until we find the distance that doesn't work, and then we got a problem. Then we'll do that a time or two, and we'll go, oh, that's really not a great idea. You want to work slowly. So when you're walking your dog and they're getting used to another dog, you can play the look at that game. You got some nice treats that the dog enjoys, and you just look at that. Yes, and then you stick a treat in front of the dog's nose, and the dog comes around, and you hold it up toward your face, and then you deliver the treat to the dog. At some point, when you play the look at that game, they're going to say, look at that, and they'll follow the direction of your finger. They're already looking at something, and you say yes. They'll turn their head around, and then you can deliver the treat. Then you can play the look at the game and say, look at that. And then you hold off saying yes to them until they turn around, because they know that comes next. So, hey, look, there's Mike. Okay, where's my treat? I looked at Mike, and that way you're bringing them into that bond and relationship with you, instead of it's them and this other thing, and you're the anchor on the end of the line that they're dragging around.
Or when you're passing another yard, there's a yard where we've got 3 dogs behind a fence, and we go past it, and the dogs go crazy, and your dogs will either walk along with you and ignore the whole situation over there, or they will say, yeah, I want to go over to the fence and bark at them too.
Yeah, fence line running is, it's entertaining, right?
To them, sure,
to
but
them,
not when you're walking down the street and it's like, hey, come back
right,
here.
and you have to set a limit, and you kind of get, what, we're going this way.
Right, but I'll tell them sit,
Yeah.
give them a treat, and then we'll move, or just keep their attention directed here and not over there.
Yeah, you do want to control their attention. Yeah, whatever the dog's looking at, wherever its eyes are pointing is where its attention is, and you want to have their eyes, focused on something of your choice there at important times. If you and this owner decide, well, you want your dogs to meet, and they say their dog's 100% dog friendly, you want your dog to be in a relaxed state before you allow them to greet. If the dog is pulling at you and moving directly toward that other dog, move them back around and don't let them pull you to the other dog. Chances are you'd be okay, but that can set the stage for a problem, because the the times when dogs are most there can be dogs that'll get along with each other great if they're both off leash. If you've got two leash dogs and both of them are constricted about their options about where to go, they're both trapped, and they're more likely to overreact. So if you do, your dog is reasonably relaxed walking up to the other dog probably should be on a loose leash as well instead of pinned by its owner, because its options are, it's going to feel, if it's going to feel threatened, it's going to be more threatened if it's pinned down, you know, if it's held back. And if the dogs want to meet each other, but then what you do when they meet is 1,000, 2, 1,000, thank you very much, you know, and you move off. A dog can be okay at 2 seconds, but not be okay at 4 seconds or 5 seconds. You want those first greetings to be very brief, you know, hi, how are you, you know, and then move on.
Right. This is no big deal. Let's keep moving.
Let's keep moving. Then you walk back at a distance and talk with the owner, and so forth. If you want them to greet again later on, fine. That's great. But you don't have to push it beyond the 2 seconds. Stay at 2 seconds at your own risk and your dog's own risk. Okay. Well, that's pretty much. Okay, what do you do if you meet an off-leash dog? We kind of talked about that, I guess.
I usually will turn around and charge them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it
So I
helps.
stand my ground.
Yeah, you know, push your dog behind you if you can, or step on the leash behind you, and you stand in front. And
don't run away.
Right. Yeah. And if an owner says, you know, well, my dog's friendly, and they're being, you know, naive or inconsiderate, or just, it's like they're the kind of people that think their kid never does anything wrong. They say, my dog's 100% friendly. Say, my dog's not. My dog's in training. Get your dog back, please. Okay, so that's about it.
Yeah,
we'll figure out what
there's
to
been
talk about
times when
next
we've
time.
been walking down the road and 3 little dogs come screaming through the yard off leash towards us, and they get up over the rise and see the road, and they see my 220-pound dog. And I go, oh, hi, see you later.
Right. Yeah. Cancel that. Yeah.
All right, well, that's all we have for today, and we'll see you again in February. So look for the rest of the videos that we have on YouTube at Rio Grande Cable Access, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.